this movie is making me realize that it's like a team effort. There's several people who have to be involved in order to create something like this the way you want to. So I want to share a few things. To plant the Elementalhypertech school, to promote the movie, and to also share how to practice in real life the world's first time travel game, right? So these characters that we're building in this movie are going to be related to the game, and you can learn about how the rules are played and what you can do, and the differences between all these angles you can learn at the school. And then the game is designed for you to practice, and then the movie is, think of that as a mechanism of change. So it's a choose your own adventure movie. So we are building the foundations right now for the movie. In other words, there are several characters. The main characters that we are building are the 12 immortals. Those 12 immortals being Uranus, white, the sun, purple, Neptune, blue, Venus, green, Mercury, orange, Jupiter, yellow, Mars, red, and then we even went further because there's 12 immortals, right? So we have Pluto, brown, we have the moon, which is gray, and you have Saturn, which is black. And each one of these has very specific keywords that open them up in time. And the movie is going to share these concepts in a poetic way. And so what happens is that each of these colors will be represented by one of these immortals. And they relate to your chakras because you are a complex person. So we're going to build the foundations of the characters where there is a navigator who goes out and collects the immortals in time because he has developed time travel, physical time travel. So he goes and collects the immortals. And he wants to bring them to a very special place. In time travel, it's called the in-between. And the in-between is a place where you can go on your own timeline where there's no people. All the infrastructure is there, but there aren't anybody around. It's very creepy. There's no animals. And you're on your own timeline because on your own timeline, what we learn in the future, and this is a lesson that's learned in the movie, is life only exists in the present moment, in the now. This navigator collects these immortals, and there's lessons to be learned through the poems of how the navigator accomplishes these things. But don't forget, there's also a champion. And the champion is very curious to the immortals because he is unbeaten. And the immortals have flaws, just like humanity has flaws, right? Like we have pain and suffering, for example, which is some of our worst flaws. Also, there is fear that can creep in from one of these immortals when they collect together. So we have to be careful of that as well, because there's always villains in movies and games, right? So the idea is the immortals are on the hunt for champions in the world. The immortals look for these champions because they're different, they're unique, they're genuine, they stand out. There's something special about them, and they're looking for that speciality. They're looking for that nuance, that serendipity, what makes them different than the rest. And one of the things that since the immortals are immortal, that they understand is that it could be anybody, and it is about discovery. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're born with it. What it means is that you found a way to harmonize. If you're interested in learning more about the teachings of Elementalhypertech, the movie or the game, you're welcome to join us. We've had several amazing people step forward and share their beauty and their creativity and their activity. They're now being directors of this movie. And, you have beautiful art. that has been shared. There is an actress in Canada who's been doing it for many years, who has given such great advice. And we're building a script right now. So if you're interested in helping us build a script, please help us, because we're building connections with people as best we can who want to be a part of this, of creating this Choose Your Own Adventure movie. So I want to make sure, I want to honor her request. Her request is, she can help, but she really requires a script. I hear her, and I want to make sure I provide that to her, right? Because I'm committed. So I'm asking anybody else who wants to commit as well. I'll be happy to go over the details with you. It's all open source. There's nothing copywritten here. So you guys get to, the audience, the people listening to this, you guys get to choose how this stuff plays out. Yes, I'm gonna make sure the foundation is done first on the original movie. It's gonna be a representation of the game and the school and everything. So I have to build that part. So there won't be, you're welcome to join me in creating that, but just realize that there's certain things I have to have in there because there's rules to the game. If that makes sense. Once all the immortals make it to this location, and you know what? I'm going to publicly tell you the name of the location because it's important for those who want to help with the game. The name of the place that they all meet at in the in-between is called Lucky's Bar. And so I want to share that part with you. Now, one of the curious aspects of this as well is that, remember I told you there's a navigator and there's a champion, and I don't want to give it away too much, but what the navigator discovers, that there is somebody else in the in-between, and he is the bartender of Lucky's Bar. So there actually is an additional hidden character, if you will, or maybe not. You'll find out in how we build the foundation of the movie, right? There has to still be surprise, because there's surprise in life. You know, the surprise is what makes things interesting, which makes us more curious, which urges us to explore more. So we want to make sure we keep that element alive within the foundations. But after that, once that's created and structured, then the audience, you, the players, the directors, all these new characters, because you get to play a role in this, as audience, you get to actually decide what next adventures these immortals go on. And the good news is they can't die because they're immortals. So there's lessons that we're going to learn from this process, from this movie. So it's interactive. And you guys, the people who are listening to this now, if you want to play a role in the movie, then okay, let's figure this out. Let's work on this. Let's really brainstorm. Let's bring people together like a self-organizing collective and decide what we find important to us. And hopefully, if done correctly, the object for me is I know that I've been saying it's for you to ask, what if? You know, what if time travel is real? What if you can actually do time travel, right? I mean, we can communicate. We can move other things through time. So why is it hard to understand how we move people or bodies or things, right? Is it, can we move Bitcoin from, point A to point B? Oh, because it's ethereal? Well, what happens if we're ethereal too? Have you considered that? What happens if we're in an electromagnetic universe? So maybe these things are possible, and the things that we learned in Star Trek could be real, where beam me up, Scotty. Think about where we can travel, where we can go, what new lands we can explore, right? That's another hint in the movie. There's more land, and the preparation of that land has been critical, and it plays a role in what we're doing right here, right now, in this very moment in time. That is behind the scenes, pun intended. Anyway, if you would like to be a part of the movie, please join us. It's all open source. Now, right now, it's been all on volunteer basis because it's by permission, not aggression. But I'm not saying no to people who want to earn money too, if you have the qualifications for it. But just realize that I pay in very different currency than what you might be used to. So in time, maybe seeds and nuts become a very potent currency. And also for those who are interested in the advanced teachings or discussions or shares, whatever, however you want to look at it, because it depends on the level of your participation, right? Because many people around me, for example, are always teaching me something new, right? So it's symbiotic. We're all growing. So we're not taking anything away when we're sharing ideas. We're actually adding to our collective existence. So that's kind of the idea, is to surround yourself with like-minded, perhaps. But that diversity also is beneficial too, because then you get different perspectives, different experiences, and now you have a more holistic movie where it's inclusive yet enlightening. And there's also so you can go to the Patreon, for example, and we have like 8 podcasts on there, and we got like I think like 30 videos, something like that. That is all part of the advanced training. So it's the organizations themselves. It's actually like the cheat codes to the test kind of thing. So that's what's on the Patreon, because that helps fund our mission here, what we're trying to accomplish. And remember, we built this very specifically just to share, just to have open source. We built this specifically with a trinity of time, because this is a time travel movie. And that trinity in the past is goodness, and the present, which is the heart, right? The past is the mind, the way we built this. And that is kindness. And we did with the future, which is the gut, we programmed it as happiness, right? And happiness is the fleeting, the mutable component to it, right? So and that's like the future. The future's changeable. It's not fixed like the past and static. It's dynamic. Right, this is part of the school, the game, and the movie. So we have to share that, and in the present, it's specific, right? It's prioritized. Okay, it's like that. Those are so they all have very different feelings to them, because as we teach in time travel, is your heart is connected to your present moment, the ever present now. Your gut is connected to your future, and your mind is connected to your past. Now, you can use those technologies as mechanisms to access their opposites, right? Because everything's in harmony. That's what we teach. Where you can use imagination to access the future. So it connects to your gut to pull out the right information it's looking for. And you can access the past through your gut, the element of water instead of the element of air, but you can do that through instincts, where you can go through your organizational memory, and you already know you don't need certain aspects of that memory file, where you can go to specifics quickly, because that's what your instincts do. Your instincts are they're like laser focused, and you can bypass a lot of minutia and go right for the core of the matter using instincts. So you can pinpoint where you left things, in other words, in the past, through that process. So you can see how they're both interrelated. And then in your heart is the connection of both of those. And that what we've designed within the game and the movie and the school as your intuition. Your intuition gets stronger when the braid of your gut and your mind start connecting like a rainbow bridge, and then you light it up because you navigate and you become your own champion based on that alignment of your intuition that is in connection with your imagination in your mind and your instincts and your gut. But there's also a fourth, which we're saving for the movie, which is the element of earth, and that's your body, right? The heart's the element of fire, the gut's the element of water, the mind's the element of air, your body's the element of earth. But I will share this with you. With the connection of the element of earth, when you get to the higher levels, and this will be shared in the movie as well, is it's built in a very encrypted process. Okay, and that's your own doorway. And that doorway, from my perspective, just so you know me as the creator, as a co-creator, because we need all of you as well, of this movie, is I want you to know how I organize my own morality. Because it's important for you to be able to judge me as well as a maker of this. And my participation with you as well. So the element of air in my mind, my morality matrix, I call reverence. In my heart, the element of fire. In the morality matrix, this is gratitude. In my gut, the element of water, this is humility. And in my body, the element of earth is sincerity. Now, each one of those has to be defined by the participator, the audience, the person who's going to be working with this. You're going to be faced with these type of situations to where it maybe gets you curious about exploring these type of concepts in your own life and putting them into practice, is to see how the universe responds back to you when you start building an organizational structure in order to interact with it. Hence, the world's first time travel game, released to the world on 8/8 of 2019. It'd be curious to see when the launch of this movie is going to be. I'm leaving that open to serendipity thanks to the last experiment that we did where we discovered beauty. And I'm still exploring that. There's still so much more to it. I don't have the answers. I don't know all of it. I just have puzzle pieces that I know are in truth and in light. But I just don't quite know how they all fit together quite yet. But I think that's also part of the beauty of it, right? I think there's a lot of patience and innocence, and there's certain aspects that you just can't gloss over. You have to stop and smell the roses. Maybe that's why that rose is symbolic of beauty. Curious.